an episode of Walking with Dinosaurs. That would be interesting. I have no idea how strict the BBC is with their copyright laws, because like sometimes, like all of Sea Monsters is just it's on it's on YouTube. You can just watch it. At one point they were uploaded on YouTube. I'm pretty sure that Big Al is in like couple minute chunks. Like that's the level of copyright you have to deal with. It's like, hey, do you have to upload it in like 2-minute chunks like you're trying to watch fucking Lucky Star in 2007 on YouTube? Or do you just upload the whole fucking thing like you're trying to watch Lucky Star now and there's just all 9 hours of it in one video? Yeah, I don't care for the Gigasloposaurus. And the funniest part is, once Jurassic World Evolution 3 comes out, we're absolutely getting the Gigasloposaurus. We're gonna be able to put it in our parks, and it's just like, I don't wanna. I don't wanna. At the very least, the Indominus, the Indoraptor, even to a certain extent the Scorpius Rex, they are roughly shaped like dinosaurs. We will be getting the new Spinosaurus, which, like, I have mixed feelings on the Spinosaurus design. The short neck is just kind of, Like, I know we don't have a lot of material of Spinosaurus' neck. It's like, I think, one vertebrae or something. But still, like, in terms of aesthetics, which is also important. Yeah, it's not a hybrid, but a deformed, mutated dino. Honest to fucking God, like, same difference. Like, the distinction, as far as I'm concerned, is basically meaningless. Like, it honestly feels like David Koepp just didn't even watch the Jurassic World trilogy, which, you know, I don't blame him for. But, it really feels like that. He's just like, alright, gamers, what is the most natural direction we can take, the franchise in after Jurassic Park 3, because that was the last one that existed. How about we've already brought dinosaurs back? But what if they were fucked up and we mutated them into horrible abominations? Just like, isn't that what the entire last trilogy was about? It's just like fucking, what about a movie where the Muppets have to stop an evil oil baron from destroying the old studio? Fozzie, did you even watch our last film? I would do a Fozzie and Kermit voice, but my throat is just, it's so not happy with me. Yeah, and of course, like, it's just, it's so fucking lame that basically all the dinosaurs in any place that isn't fucking equatorial is just, it's gone. They're just gone. That's such a stupid direction to take the franchise. Because there's like, imagine a small, like something on the level of Battle at Big Rock, but like as a feature movie, right? Just like small scale, people in, I don't know, a national park or something, right? Like maybe almost like a Cujo style movie, but with a dinosaur instead of a dog or something like that. Like the directions that you could take the franchise are essentially limitless once you actually release the dinosaurs into the world. It doesn't have to be this big fucking thing where it's like, oh, we learned so much about InGen and their past and the secrets, and like you could do something small scale, focus on the characters, focus on like the horror aspects, like just imagine a movie where it's like, oh, we don't have to have the fucking T-Rex or the Velociraptor or anything like that. It could be like this family that is trying to survive a Herrerasaurus in a log cabin out, or a pack of Herrerasaurus in a log cabin out in the middle of a national park. I think I heard something similar happening with like bears in like an actual national park. I don't remember the full details of that, but like people just getting terrorized by bears because like they were feeding the bears too much. Chaos Theory or something like that. What I've seen of Chaos Theory so far definitely seems to be handling the whole dinosaurs in our world thing a lot better than fucking Dominion ever did. The concept of not only a pack of Spinosaurus hunting together, but also somehow having a symbiotic relationship with a Mosasaurus who's the alpha ain't boding well. I'm honestly fine with that. That's one of the things in the trailer that irked me the least. Where it's just like, hey, you know what? That's fucking, at the very least, that's kind of interesting, right? Like, that is, you know, speculative behavior. like these animals working in a group and also in like mixed species hunting, which is a thing in the real world. Like, you know, foxes and badgers will hunt together. Certain kinds of birds, I think, will help other animals hunt. Like, I'm totally fine with that. I think groupers do the same thing. I'm totally spacing on a lot of these right now. Yeah, there'll be more bloodborne. Crows and wolves, that's another one. Yeah, morays and groupers, that's the one I'm thinking of. Thank you very much. At the very least, it makes for something interesting. It is an interesting action set piece that utilizes the unique features of these species. I'm fine with that. Because, like, for all intents and purposes, the Spinosaurus in Jurassic Park 3 really was just, like, a bigger, scarier T-Rex. It wasn't meaningfully different in any way. It's just like, oh, it's a carnivore that's gonna come and kill you, except, oh, it's slightly bigger. That's not very interesting, right? That's why I keep thinking, like, we need something with, like, more medium-sized-ish carnivores. Like, it was constructed so stupidly. But the scene in Fallen Kingdom with the baryonyx was trying something. It's like, oh hey, this is like a small area where a T-Rex can't get into, but this is still really fucking dangerous. I mean, hell, that's part of the reason why, like, the raptors in the kitchen scene is so iconic, right? Like, sure, these guys are, you know, not as big as a T-Rex, but they're still, like, they're still fucking scary. But, like, I want something, like, scaled up a tiny bit from that. Like, again, like, that's why I used Herrerasaurus as an example. Like, this 20-foot long carnivore that could reasonably fit inside of something like a log cabin, but also be, like, overwhelmingly dangerous in that scenario. Like, again, Battle at Big Rock, I feel, should have been the template for what you can do. That shouldn't have been like, oh, that's that's it. That's all we could think about. That's all we could think of. We have the world in the palm of our hands. And we can think of literally one scenario where dinosaurs in our world just attack some family or something. We've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas. Oh, this one. Oh. 20 animals that were scarier than dinosaurs in the thumbnail is whatever the fuck this is. Ooh. 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 Why is there a red circle around the second bow? Like, that one's further in the background. It's not doing anything for the scale. We gotta do it. We gotta do it. It's calling to me. It's the Green Goblin Mask.
Hey, welcome to a new video.
Hey!
Let's go back. These ancient landscapes were dominated by creatures that would even make the most fearsome dinosaurs shudder with fear.
Ooh.
And when you think about it, you're probably glad that nowadays we only have to deal with lions, wolves, and sharks. Because the world...
All the lions that you deal with on a daily basis. I'm just trying to go down and get me some fucking, some pizza and burgers and gummy bears, and it's just like... Lions and wolves, and I go to get me a soda, and it's just like shark comes out of the soda. Fucking clash.
Number 20. The Hyaenodon belongs to the Creodon family. In order of...
Okay. I feel like the pronunciation is kind of unforgivable there. Hyaenodon. It's literally a name with Don at the end. It's like he's the Don of hyenas. Continue.
Extinct mammals. These creatures were terrifying carnivores that emerged about 10 million years after the disappearance of dinosaurs.
Full disclaimer, I don't really know much about Hyaenodons. I'll give this guy a chance.
But here's the scary part. They went extinct approximately 20 million years ago, leaving no direct descendants behind.
But here's the scary part. They're all dead. They died out millions of years before the appearance of the first hominids and left nothing behind. That's the scary part. Ooh. 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 Here lies Hyaenodon. He never scored. Last Hyaenodon died out 9 million years ago. Okay, cool. So he's very wrong then. He's wrong by a factor of about 11 million years. That's embarrassing.
The biggest ones, like H. gigas, were as large as wolves,
Gigas.
and probably hunted in a way similar to wolves, but they also scavenged, like hyenas. On the other
Oh my fucking god. Uh, First of all, that does seem quite a bit bigger than a lot of wolf species. Horridus down there honestly seems somewhere in between Horridus and Gigas, I think, is like wolf size. So we have to do the hyena thing. No, hyenas are not like primarily scavengers. They're not. That is lion propaganda. Hyenas will hunt more of their kills than lions will. Hyenas are extremely competent animals, and they're just like they've been characterized as these fucking scavenger goobers for so long now, and I'm kind of tired of it, honestly. Like, give some respect to hyenas. They're kind of badasses. It's not just from the Lion King though. Like this attitude of like hyenas being these scavengers has persisted for so fucking long. Like maybe it comes I think it comes from generally the sorry, the rivalry that exists between lions and hyenas, and everyone wants to side with the lions because lions are cool and very charismatic, while hyenas are kind of like they're like hunchbacked and weird looking, and they got these big fucked up crunchy bone teeth, and they like smile and like they just seem evil. They just seem like they're evil animals. I don't necessarily blame people, right? I'm just like I would appreciate that a channel that is trying to communicate anything about science would actually know that hey, hyenas aren't fucking scavengers at the very least. You don't have to love them, but they're not scavengers, not entirely anyway.
Number 19. Did you know that Gigantopithecus is the largest ape ever, and it ultimately perished because of its immense size?
First of all, strange intro. Second of all, what was that fucking noise he made? Like right after he said that it was the largest ape ever?
Gigantopithecus is the largest ape ever, and it
Ever? Oh? What? It sounds like he's... Ooh. What do you mean because of its large size? Will you bring that up again? I can maybe see where you're coming from with this. Because, like, Gigantopithecus would have been such a large animal that I suppose you could argue that it was very specialized to its environment and any changes basically would have decimated it. But I don't know if you could, like, say that. I don't think you could definitively say that just because of its size, especially because, oh, by the way, Gigantopithecus was like a fucking jaw. It's like a jaw and some teeth, and that's about all we have of it. And of course, we have the Christopher Walken Gigantopithecus here. The King Louis, who two times in the same song rhymes with Gigantopithecus.
100,000 years ago, during the onset of the Pleistocene's last ice age, the
Pleistocene.
climate began to change, and that spelled its doom. It turned out that its enormous size was a significant disadvantage when the forest turned into open savannas, and there was much less fruit to be found.
Again, that I feel like that has less to do with size, more to do with like a specialized diet or something. Like again, like red pandas are still endangered, right? They're a lot smaller than giant pandas. They both eat bamboo. They're both bamboo eating specialists from like similar locations, but they're suffering basically the same from things like habitat loss. So you know what I mean? You can't really point to its size alone is the definitive factor that led to its extinction. Plenty of large animals have survived mass extinction events. Like, hey, look at pretty much all of our modern day megafauna. A lot of it was around during, like, the last ice age.
And here's something else interesting. Large animals like Gigantopithecus typically have fewer offspring, meaning their populations are more vulnerable to environmental changes. So,
relatively I think it's more that mammals in general have fewer offspring. Not necessarily like larger animals. Like having lots of babies is typically a survival strategy for animals that don't really take care of their offspring, whereas having fewer offspring that you put more effort into is like that's basically a different strategy. Like you'll see the former strategy with things like spiders and turtles and fish, stuff like that. They'll just shit out babies. It's just like here's a bazillion of them. Go nuts. And they fuck off back into the sea or back into a burrow or well, the spiders usually just die afterwards. It's not quite accurate to say that like, oh, larger animals had less offspring because like we found sauropod nest sites. They had a lot of babies, and they're the biggest things that ever walked on land. Not to mention, again, it's a relative thing. Crocodiles have a lot of babies. This is just a weird point to make. I don't really see where he's coming from with this.
While this ape may not have been the smartest when it came to dealing with changes, it's still quite impressive to him.
The smartest when it came to dealing with changes. We're fucking Gigantopithecus supposed to be like, alright, clearly climate change is going too far. What we need to do is shut down all of our nuclear power plants and go back to mining coal like we're Germany. But it's okay, because we'll set up a few wind turbines and everything will be good to go.
Number 18. In the prehistoric Eromanga Sea, approximately 105 million years ago, a terrifying predator ruled the skies. Thapungaka shawi, also known as a true dragon. With its immense wingspan of almost 30 feet or...
This is a very obscure pterosaur. I have not heard of this one. It seems like a pretty basic ornithocheirid, ananguerid, something like that. Oh, it's Australian? Okay. Yeah, I haven't even heard of this species, but like if you want to go for the big ananguerid pterosaur, just go for Tropiognathus.
The colossal flyer hunted prey with its terrifying spear-like mouth.
Okay, hold up. I have to see what this one actually fucking looked like. Okay, so yeah, it's an ananguerid. Very fragmentary, pretty much just known from like the tips of its jaws. I'm not really seeing anything about its size either. Okay, the wingspan of Thapungaka was estimated by a comparison with a related species. It would be between 5.83 to 9.47 meters, based on an extrapolation from Ananguera and Tropiognathus, respectively. The lower jaws more strongly remember those of Ananguera piscator, from which it was concluded that a span of 6 to 7 meters, 20 to 23 feet, was probable. Okay, so pretty big. Decently big. Not quite Tropiognathus big, but still decently big for a pterosaur. That's like Pteranodon size. But again, like, I would have just gone for Tropiognathus, because, number one, it's the more well-known species, not nearly as fragmentary as literally just the top and bottom half of the jaw. And it's the bigger species, so...
With its immense wingspan of almost 30 feet or 9 meters, and a skull about 3 feet or 91 centimeters wide, it was a true phenomenon.
So yeah, he's wrong about the size there.
The colossal flyer hunted prey with its terrifying spear-like mouth, filled with up to 40 razor-sharp teeth.
It's quite inaccurate to call ananguerid mouths like spears. They've got these kind of keels on the end of them that have this sort of like this very unique shape. It's very odd looking. They're not really spears though. They look more like sideways spoons. Yeah, I'm very surprised he's using like Tapejara footage when like in like a few seconds later in that scene, here comes fucking the Ornithocheiris male who's just like whoosh, makes them all look tiny. All these little fucking shitty ass Tapejara. Neither of those species are themselves. Accuracy wise, that episode is probably one of the weaker ones, but god damn it, I feel for him, man. Here lies the Ornithocheiris. He never scored.
Its long neck connected its impressive skull to a pair of enormous wings, making it look like a terrifying creature from another era. It was not only the largest terror.
Yeah. It was the fucking... Because it was a creature from another era, you fucking dingus. Yeah, that's a decent reconstruction of an ananguerid mouth. Like, that's what they looked like. Kind of a spoon, maybe a battle axe, however you want to describe it. It looks funky. I don't know if the teeth would have been splayed out like that, though, but I trust this guy's reconstruction of this particular species.
With its unique anatomy, it was a masterful hunter, capable of silently descending on its unsuspecting prey.
How do you know
It's almost
that?
like finding yourself in a prehistoric adventure movie, don't you think?
Cringe. Anyway, I have no idea if any sort of research has been done into how loud pterosaurs would have been when they flew. Owls are silent because owls have basically evolved specifically to be fucking silent, which is like if you've seen those videos where it's like showing exactly how quiet owls are when they fly, like no noise whatsoever, it's like fascinating. But yeah, I don't think any research has been done on that in terms of pterosaurs. Like how the mechanics of pterosaur flight, I feel like, are still relatively disputed. Fucking how they take off has only, I think, recently come into like a state of relative acceptance where it's like, yeah, they probably did like the whole whoosh, jump up into the air and then take off thing, as opposed to like needing thermals like they thought in Walking with Dinosaurs and all that shit. Yeah, they could just like take off from the ground, like whoosh, into the sky.
Number 17. Imagine being a modern crocodile floating in the water, thinking you're the king of your surroundings.
I have to say, at the very least, he's choosing like fairly unique taxa. Maybe he used all the rest of them in his other fucking videos. Like again, like I am surprised he wouldn't just go for like Barinasuchus or something. Oh, invalid genus, cool. Ah, a non-diagnostic and potentially dubious extinct genus of crocodilian from France. Refer to other genres such as Bovrasuchus. That does not seem that big. Again, I would have gone with Barinasuchus. Like, Barinasuchus is the big one that people know. Like, that's the big terrestrial crocodile. Or hell, even just, like, one of the fucking Triassic, Pseudosuchians, like, Saurasuchus. That's what I would have gone with. Yeah, 7.2 to 11.8 feet. That's really not that big. That's smaller than, like, most crocodilians alive today.
The prehistoric powerhouse would surely give you a scare.
Oh my
Unlike the
God, what the
crocodiles we
fuck
know
is that?
today, Pristichampsus had several features that made it.
What the fuck is this footage? Is this like, is it like a sci-fi original movie? Oh, Pterosaurus. Yeah, that's the other really big one. Pristichampsus. That's primeval? Oh. Oh no.
This creature even had a round tail instead of a flattened one, indicating that it didn't need to swim in the water as often as its modern relatives.
Sure.
And let's talk about its teeth. They resembled those of large dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurs. With such teeth, it was a master at catching and subduing prey. In the warm forests of the early Eocene, this crocodile was a formidable predator. But over time, as crocodiles specialized in aquatic life, this species slowly disappeared. Its terrestrial lifestyle became less favorable compared to the aquatic relatives.
That's not really true. I mean, today pretty much all we have are semi-aquatic crocodilians. I think freshwater crocodiles in Australia are some of the more terrestrial ones, if I'm not mistaken. But again, Barinasuchus was, I want to say, semi-recent, like not even all that long ago, comparatively speaking, and that was like not only one of the largest post-Mesozoic crocodilians next to like Pterosaurus and Griposuchus, I want to say, but like, yeah, it was fully terrestrial. It was a big guy. It was like basically the top predator in its ecosystem. Okay, Cuban crocodiles too, right? I've seen the videos where they gallop. Last fully terrestrial pseudosuchians died out 6,000 years ago. Yeah, that's not that long ago. So it's really not accurate to say that like this was a super unfavorable lifestyle. This lifestyle lasted from like the Triassic up until very recently. So it worked. It worked just fine. There were fully terrestrial crocodilomorphs like all throughout the Mesozoic, even while the dinosaurs were rolling. So you can't really say that didn't work out.
Number 16. Dolichorhynchops, a cool name for a plesio.
One more time.
Aquatic relatives. Number 16. Dolichorhynchops, a cool name for a plesiosaur with a short
Dolichorhynchops. Again, fairly unique taxa. I mostly saw this one in the like Sea Monsters 3D documentary.
These guys were truly rock stars of the sea, with their long paddle-like fins allowing them to glide through the water like acrobats, much like penguins on ice. With their large, sharp eyes,
penguins on ice, maybe penguins in the water. How many fucking similes are you gonna use, dude? You got the metaphors and the similes. They're the rock stars of the sea. They're like penguins on ice. They're like detectives. What is the Dolichorhynchops not?
But surprisingly, they didn't use them for chewing. Nope, they swallowed their prey whole.
That is not surprising at all. Chewing is actually a fairly uncommon trait, like especially among things like reptiles, especially among anything aquatic. Yeah, I can't even think of an aquatic animal that like chews its food. Just in general, really. Like plenty of animals will use their teeth to tear up food and then eat the chunks. Like hell, Sicilians do that. I saw a video of like someone who like tied a piece of fish to a rock, like a fillet of fish, and then the Sicilian was like biting into it and is just like kind of twisting its body around to gain leverage to tear pieces of the fish off. Pufferfish? Kinda, sorta. I'll give you that one, I guess. Less chewing, more just kind of crushing shells.
They measured 13 to 16.5 feet, or 4 to 5 meters in length, and likely had super smooth skin. Their fins contain nearly 100...
How do you know that? What do you mean super smooth? Jesus Christ. Okay, as far as I'm aware, there are some skin impressions of marine reptiles. I'm pretty sure mosasaurs have them. I don't know if I would describe the skin as being particularly smooth. I understand where you're coming from, hydrodynamics and all that, but like again, I mean you got sharks, right? They're smooth one way, not so much the other.
Despite being able to dive deep, the species often had to come up for air. Fortunately, they didn't have many enemies.
Okay. Obviously, it had to come up for air. This is a reptile. Most things that have lungs have to come up for air. Some fucking fish have to come up for air. Second of all, you bet your ass this thing had enemies. This thing lived in the Western Interior Seaway. It had nothing but enemies. I'm pretty sure that Dolichorhynchops was contemporary with shit like Tylosaurus, Cretoxyrhina, Zephactinus. Fuck, dude. This thing would have nothing but enemies. You're just straight up wrong about that.
Except for scary sharks and a few other species.
Scary sharks.
Mosasaurus, which means middle lizard in
this
Greek,
guy
was an
again.
impressive reptile that surfaced during the early Permian, approximately 300 million years ago. Unlike its
Wait, what are you about to say about mosasaurs?
fully terrestrial ancestors, this animal decided to partially inhabit the water.
Oh, you're not saying anything about mosasaurs. You're just... The AI is just like, oh, mesosaur, did you mean mosasaur? Jurassic World footage. Yeah, this guy again, like... It's small. It's like a little guy. This is not scarier than a dinosaur. Please, for the love of God, tell me we're getting hallucigenia. One day, one fucking day, we will get hallucigenia in one of these shitty lists.
What truly set Mosasaurus apart in the early Permian was its skull structure. Unlike most reptiles of that time, it lacked openings on the sides of its skull, as was typical with other reptiles.
Okay, so he's talking about being an apsid, I'm pretty sure. It takes a while to explain what the fuck is going on with like anapsids and diapsids and all that shit. It takes a long time to explain why that is meaningfully different, or like why that's meaningful basically. Even I still get it mixed up a lot because like for one thing the words are all very similar. I'm just like, wait a second, is that one right or is that one right? And then even then, there's exceptions, right? Like this one's an anapsid, but it actually has holes in its skull. Or this one's like a diapsid, but it has no holes in its skull. And we just have to fucking figure out what's going on with that shit. It's fucking confusing, and I don't like it, and that's why I'm not actually a scientist.
Its slender teeth were likely adapted for filtering plankton. The idea that this ancient creature hunted both
Filtering plankton? With those teeth? Those okay, let's look at an actual Mosasaurus skull. Yeah, no, those are for biting on the shit. Yeah, no, that's a chompy boy. Those are fucking needles. Hell no, dog. That is not a unique feature to Mosasaurus, my guy. Lots of aquatic animals have conical needle-like teeth because that helps grab onto fish because fish are slippery. Again, Sicilians. They have very thin needle-like teeth because, like, hey, when you're underwater, you gotta grip onto whatever it is you're gripping onto.
Number 14. Entelodon is a large group of mammals closely related to pigs, known as the killer pig, due to its terrifying character.
Excuse you, that is the Terminator pig, and I will not have you slander his name.
These creatures live side by side with Hyaenodons, a peculiar group of mammals resembling sheep, but actually more closely related to camels. Fossil finds indicate that Entelodons are...
I mean, they lived alongside a bunch of shit. As far as I'm aware, Entelodons lasted for a decently long while. So... At least he said they were related to pigs, which I think is at least... and in terms of accuracy, they're, I'm pretty sure, even-toed ungulates, so that's a pass, I guess. It's related to a pig probably about as much as it's related to a camel, but hey, at least it is related to it. And he's not saying it's a fucking dinosaur.
Their large skulls were quite remarkable, making up about 35 to 45% of their total body length. These skulls also had tooth-like protrusions of bone, indicating adaptations for consuming tough or hard food, including crushing bones.
I'm confused as to what he's talking about here. He's saying like the tooth-like protrusions. Is he just talking about the teeth? Because I know that Entelodons have some like freaky skull shapes. They got like random bits jutting out of them, kind of like warthogs do. But as far as I'm aware, those are adaptations for like, you know, ramming stuff. Not the teeth, which are actually designed for eating. Yeah, I don't really know what he's talking about here. This is just like, I feel like the AI is just getting confused again.
Like modern pigs, this species was likely omnivores, feeding on a mix of plant and animal material.
Was likely
Despite
omnivores.
their impressive size, their limbs were adapted for running on land.
Despite their impressive size, their limbs were adapted for running on land. Have you seen how fast a fucking elephant can move, dude? You ever seen a giraffe run before? Those things can move. They're way bigger than an Entelodon. Also, if you're gonna keep comparing them to pigs, which, like, you shouldn't really. You should be comparing them to hippos, which are also deceptively fast. Warthogs. Warthogs are fucking fast, dude. They're fast and they got wicked stamina. Fucking Pumbaa will kick your ass.
Number 13. On the vast plains of Argentina, a remarkable and terrifying sight.
As you're gonna mispronounce it.
Towering feathered creatures surpassing the height of a human. These were the terror birds, the only group of carnivorous flightless birds to have ever existed. Scientifically known.
The only group of carnivorous flightless birds to have ever existed. Have you ever heard of a penguin? Yeah, cassowaries are herbivores. Most ratites are, I want to say, at least omnivores. Yeah, penguins are carnivorous. They eat fish, but, you know, fish are made of meat. I don't know if anyone's ever told you this. Listen, I know that the pescatarians out there, they like to have their own rules on this shit. Like, oh, it's not really meat, it's just fish. Secretary birds? Secretary birds can fly. Not for like a while, but they can fly. Kiwis eat bugs? I think they do. I actually don't know what kiwis eat.
Known as forest racids, they raised the top predators of their time in South America. And
forest rockids. It's Forest Rockus.
Although estimates of their speed vary, it's believed that the largest members of this group could reach speeds of at least 28 miles per hour.
Fair the fuck enough that he's saying that their speed estimates and that they vary. This shit is hard to nail down for paleontologists. Mostly because that's not really, exactly what paleontologists are always trying to figure out. Like, oh, hey, how fucking fast does this thing move? That's not really what they're trying to do all that often. I mean, if you're a paleontologist that's interested in, like, making money, first and foremost, you're just looking in the ground for phytoplankton. Because that's where oil reserves are going to be. Yeah, so good job to the AI for figuring out that, yes, these are estimates and they're going to be variable. Here's the top one. Good job. I'll give you that one. Terror birds are just dinosaurs, so really this one shouldn't even count.
Number 12. Doryaspis is an ancient jawless fish, and it swam in the ocean.
Hold the fuck up. Is this the same one from last time? The one that's like this fucking big? It's just got like the noodle for a face? We did this one last time. Did we not? This is not scarier than a dinosaur. There's weirder placoderms. Oh, my throat. Oh, my throat. Gonna get a prehistoric elephant, Dunkleosteus, or Megalodon, or Helicoprion. Another croc, giant sloth, and probably calling it now completely peaceful herbivore you could kill. I'm putting all my chips in. I'm saying we're gonna get hallucigenia. We're gonna get it. If not hallucigenia, then maybe Anomalocaris. Yeah, I just don't know why this thing.
Residing in the sediments of the ocean floor and feeding.
The ocean floor?
The origin of large predatory marine creatures began approximately 245 million years ago, with a mighty ichthyosaurus named Dolichorhynchops.
Again, weird taxa in this one. I almost thought that was a Mosasaur at first. Maybe it is actually a Mosasaur. Very strange taxa. Like, again, if I was going for, like, an early Triassic ichthyosaur, I would have gone for, like, Shonisaurus, Shastasaurus, Ichthyotitan.
He's gonna point at a trilobite next and say it hunted mosasaurs just because they weren't around at the same time.
These trilobites would have enjoyed the taste of human flesh.
Most ichthyosaurs had small pointed teeth to catch small and slippery prey. This species had a unique dental arrangement. Its teeth were about 4 inches or 10 centimeters high, and had a crown of 2 inches or 5 centimeters, with a
How similar is this thing to, like, Symbospondylus? Because I imagine this is, like, a very similar animal. But again, he's, like, picking these weird, obscure taxa that I bet he's doing this on purpose. He knows. He knows that my entire career is based on fucking picking apart all of his AI sludge. So he's just like, I'm gonna pick shit that fish doesn't know anything about.
leaf-shaped appearance and 2 cutting edges. Although not serrated, these teeth resembled those of other terrifying marine creatures, such as mosasaurs and large pilosaurs. This species...
Pilosaurs? Also, did you say they were spade-shaped? Spade-shaped and not serrated. That sounds almost like porpoise teeth. I don't know, you're making it sound like a big porpoise right now. Not exactly the most terrifying. If you've ever seen a porpoise before, they're silly little critters.
It's one of the earliest known marine predators that hunted large marine animals, placing it at the top of the food chain.
The food chain.
In the marshes along the Rio Grande in Texas, about 70 million years ago, roamed a creature that was both impressive and terrifying. Quetzalcoatlus was a pterosaur measuring
Hey, he got a decent pronunciation in there. I'll give it to him. Love porpoises, shame dolphins are dicks. Dolphins are dicks, especially to porpoises for literally no fucking reason. We got our good friend the Quetzalcoatlus back. Let's see what he has to say this time.
Up to 12 feet or 3.7 meters tall, with an enormous wingspan of 37 to 40 feet, or 11.3 to 12.2 meters. It's known as the largest flying animal in Earth's history. But you might wonder how it could walk with wings touching the ground, and how such a large animal could fly at all.
Okay, how could it walk with wings touching the ground? Have you seen a bat before? The Quetzalcoatlus being the largest, most giant Asdarchids are extremely fragmentary. There's basically no greater point in saying one is bigger than the other between something like Quetzalcoatlus, Hatzegopteryx, anything like that. They're all roughly similar in size. Some estimates say that Hatzegopteryx may have been, sorry about that, larger mass-wise, and that Quetzalcoatlus was like maybe bigger lengthwise, sort of like a Spinosaurus, Tyrannosaurus deal, except on like a much more pedantic scale, because, like, let's be real, these things really wouldn't have looked all that different. At least not in terms of their size or mass. Like, Asdarchids really wouldn't have weighed more than, I want to say, like, a couple 100 pounds. So, tacking on, like, I don't know, a few more pounds onto that is really not that big of a deal. Tacking on a couple more inches onto the wingspan, really not that big a deal. I feel like it's pointless to argue over, like, oh, which is the biggest and bestest and most coolest fucking Asdark and Pterosaur. I don't really see the point on that. The cat's redesigned for Rebirth. I prefer the Dominion one by, like, a lot. I like the colors on the Rebirth design. I prefer the crest and the feathered coat of the original.
It's also suggested that Quetzalcoatlus stood upright, reaching a height of 16.5 feet or 5 meters, equal to that of a giraffe.
Didn't you just say it was like 12 feet tall? Are you getting like the fucking two species confused? Like, what is it? Lawsoni and Northropi? It is Lawsoni. Okay. Lawsoni is the smaller species. And Northropi is the larger species that is known from the southern US, I believe, mainly Texas.
On the ground, its beak offered a wide view of the surroundings. With its stature, it was the largest carnivore on the continent, even larger than the Tyrannosaurus rex.
This is why you have to fucking specify what you're talking about when you say large. I always have to specify, like, oh, lengthwise, mass-wise. He's probably saying, like, height-wise, which is really not all that impressive. If you say that Quetzalcoatlus is larger than T-Rex, you're insane. Taller, I think so, probably. I think they're roughly both around giraffe-ish height. You can't say that it's larger than T-Rex. Hell, even its wingspan wouldn't have been, like, wider than T-Rex is long. And when it comes to mass, fucking forget about it. Again, Quetzalcoatlus absolutely would not have broken 1,000 pounds. Like, under any circumstances. You know what? It did have a bigger wingspan than T-Rex. You got me there. You got me there, Space.
Number 9. Arctodus, also known as the giant short-faced bear, is the largest carnivorous mammal we know from the Pleistocene of North America. In fact, it can even claim the title of the largest carnivorous animal since the disappearance of dinosaurs at the end of the Cretaceous.
Debatable. Andrewsarchus is known from fragmentary material. It's mostly just the skull. Scaled up, a lot of people have said it's the largest, but, like, not a whole hell of a lot is known about Andrewsarchus to begin with. Also, did you say largest carnivorous animal or mammal?
Title of the largest carnivorous animal since the disappearance of
Yeah, no, Barynosuchus is bigger. I'm pretty sure it's longer and heavier. Like, definitely longer. I want to say heavier. Also, Pterosaurus is definitely bigger. Griposuchus is definitely bigger. Yeah, no, you're just straight up wrong about that. By, like, a lot. By, like, a lot, and by a lot of different species. You are just straight up wrong about that.
When standing on its hind legs, it could reach a height of up to 12 feet or 3.7 meters. Unlike its contemporary counterparts, Arctodus had...
That really doesn't sound any bigger than a polar bear. Maybe I'm crazy. That sounds like maybe a foot or two bigger than a polar bear. But I might be wrong about that. That might be around the same size.
The skull structure and tearing teeth of Arctodus suggest a highly carnivorous diet. Its widely spaced and forward-facing eye sockets provided excellent vision. While its short...
I mean, pretty much any bear is mostly going to be carnivorous. I mean, except for, like... Okay. Most bear species alive today are mostly carnivorous, but, like, they're gonna be, like, at least slightly omnivorous. Polar bears are pretty much the biggest exception to that, because they live in areas that really just don't have a lot of edible plant growth. Like, there aren't any berries to forage on. There's not a whole lot that they can eat. But in zoos, if you give polar bears, like, some pumpkins or something, yeah, they're gonna eat them. Hard to tell whether it would have been mostly carnivorous or mostly omnivorous, unless you have, like, stomach contents and that sort of thing.
Gave it a powerful bite and the ability to crush bones to access nutritious marrow. Number 8.
Mara.
Meet Neurologus rex, the king of rabbits from...
The what? Sorry, the what? The... It's Big fucking Chungus. It's Big Chungus. Big Chungus is apparently scarier than dinosaurs. T-Rex is just coming up like, that'll hold them all white. And then this guy fucking comes out of the hole and he's just like, that'll hold them all white. Phooey.
This gigantic rabbit was about 6 times larger than the current European rabbit. Neurologus rex lived approximately 3 to 5 million years ago, and it's possibly one of the earliest known examples of the island rule in mammalian evolution. According to this rule, animals...
The island rule. Pardon? Are you talking about insular gigantism? Because that goes the other way around, too. Have you heard of the dwarf Sicilian elephant? Insular dwarfism and insular gigantism, they go both ways. That's not a specifically mammal thing.
Animals on islands often change in size, with large animals becoming smaller, and small animals becoming larger.
Okay, that's... Oh, okay, he kind of got it right, I guess. That's not even necessarily what I would call an island rule, though. Some mammals on islands are just, like, about what you would expect them to be, you know? Like... I don't know, it's fucking Tasmanian devils.
It also lost its ability to hop and adapted to a subterranean life, where it likely dug up roots and tubers to eat. Due to the lack of predators,
tubers.
it also experienced a decrease in its vision and hearing. This giant rabbit lived on an island in the western Mediterranean during the Pliocene. Its ancestors likely arrived on the island about 5 million years ago. Number 7. Sarcosuchus is a species of enormous...
Sarcosuchus. You misspelled it and mispronounced it. Fucking big chungus rabbit, scarier than dinosaurs. Like Sarcosuchus, the super crack, if you will, I'll give you. The most foul, cruel, and bad-tempered rodent you've ever set eyes on. I soiled my arm, I was so scared. I'm fucking stun-locked on the rabbit thing.
Unlike modern crocodiles, these giants continue to grow throughout their lives. And
What the fuck do you mean, unlike modern crocodiles? Modern crocodiles do the same goddamn thing. It also goes the other way around. If you keep a crocodilian in like too small of a place, you're gonna stunt its growth. You let that crocodile grow as much as it wants, then yeah, you'll get fucking monster-sized ones. Like they slow down a lot as they keep growing, but they do keep growing. Look at this poor fucking Abelisaur. He's just like, oh jeez. Oh no, he's eating me! Nah! And then he poops himself.
in a flash, they would emerge and seize their prey. When not hunting, these giant crocodile-like reptiles would bask in the...
Okay, he's been calling them crocodiles this entire time, but he accurately referred to them as crocodile-like reptiles, because these aren't actually crocodiles. They're very close crocodile relatives. So, good job. You got that one.
The sun on the banks of water bodies. But when threatened by larger predators like Argentinosaurus, they would quickly dive into the water.
Threatened by large predators like Argentinosaurus. Is that right? First of all, I'm going to be extra pedantic about this because that just pissed me off. At the beginning of this, you listed this as Sarcosuchus imperator specifically. That is the African species. That comes from, like, Niger. Now, I don't know if I have to tell you this, but Niger and Argentina are two different countries on two different continents. Second of all, Argentinosaurus is a sauropod. It is not a predator. Are you actually just saying that in the clip from the fucking Chased by Dinosaurs episode, where the Argentinosaurus come to the watering hole and then like the Sarcosuchus backs away and he's just like, all right, I'm not fucking with this right now. You're saying that's because the Argentinosaurus were about to eat that Sarcosuchus. Sure.
Water for protection. Number 6. In the spring of 1923, researchers set up camp in Erdmanmana, known as the Valley of the Jewels in Inner Mongolia.
$20, he calls this thing like the biggest predator or the biggest carnivore since the dinosaurs, after he just said that about Arctodus.
It roamed the Earth approximately 45 million years ago, and was estimated to be about 6 feet or 1.83 meters tall at the shoulder, and about 12 feet or 3.6 meters long. This makes it the largest known terrestrial predator ever.
Wait.
What makes this species
Largest known terrestrial predator ever. Damn, not ever. Not even just since the extinction of the dinosaurs. Largest terrestrial predator ever. I fucking knew he would. This thing was bigger than Tyrannosaurus Rex. It has to have been. It was the biggest ever.
Whether it actively hunted or scavenged remains a mystery, but its colossal skull suggests that it may have been twice the size of a grizzly bear, confirming its status as the largest animal of its time, and perhaps ever.
The largest animal of its time and perhaps ever. Holy shit. Guys, we were shooting too low. It's bigger than a blue whale. It's bigger than fucking Supersaurus. You know what? Fuck it. It's bigger. It's bigger than Amphicoelius fragilimus. This was 200 feet long and 300 tons of pure carnivorous destruction. Only reason it went extinct is because it ran out of stuff to eat.
Number 5. Dunkleosteus is the
There it
largest
is.
lithoderm ever, estimated to have been about 10 and 26 feet or 3 and 8 meters long.
Between 10 and 26, like, I'm pretty sure the shrunk dunk estimate lies within that range, so fuck it. I'll give you a thumbs up.
As one of the first true apex predators on Earth, it occupied a dominant position.
Not really. Not really. This was not one of the first true apex predators. I mean, again, go back to the Cambrian explosion. You got Anomalocaris. Ordovician. You've got Camarasaurus. Like, that's millions and millions of years and multiple geological periods before Dunkleosteus ever even showed up. Where it's like, yeah, there's stuff that's way bigger than everything else that's just eating everything around it.
And had few natural enemies. This was partly due to its enormous...
No. It had lots of natural enemies, because you see, it evolved its armored head so that it would not get attacked by other Dunkleosteus, even though it left its entire back half completely unarmored. Also so that it wouldn't get attacked by other Dunkleosteus, because the other Dunkleosteus would only attack its head. Right? Did I get that right?
Interestingly, evidence has been found of scraping and puncture marks on the armor of other Dunkleosteus, suggesting that they even preyed on each other. Number 4. Deinotherium was a gigantic...
Oh my god, dude. Space, you're killing it. You got the fucking big croc, the ancient elephant, the fucking... Oh my god, dude, you're killing it. The Dunkleosteus. Like, I would have guessed it would have been Deinotherium from, like, if it's gonna be any kind of ancient elephant. God damn.
Mammal from the late Miocene to the early Pleistocene, and belonged to the largest creatures of all time. Lengths range...
You keep saying everything is the largest creature of all time. Dude. Fucking Andrewsarchus and Deinotherium are gonna have, like, a kaiju battle now. What the shit? It wasn't the biggest of all time. It just fucking wasn't. It was big. It was big for, like, a Proboscidean. You're insane. Stop it. It always gets worse as it goes on because the AI just gets fucking confused.
With a shoulder height of 10 to 16.5 feet, or 3 to 5 meters, and a weight of up to 26,500 pounds, or 12,000 kilograms.
The biggest animal that has ever lived. Also Andrewsarchus.
For millions of years, it shared the world with other giants, and they were known as thunder beasts. But what truly stood out about Deinotherium were its short...
Thunderbeast. Isn't that the Brontotheres? Because, you know, you got Bronto, Thunder. Beast is Therium. Like, yes, Brontotheres existed alongside these. I get. Like, why even bring that up? That's so weird. He's done that earlier in this video, too. It's just like, oh yeah, this thing existed alongside other species, but I'm not going to mention anything meaningful about, like, their relationship to one another. It's just like, yeah, they existed at the same time. I'm not even going to explain what the things that lived alongside with were. Fucking bizarre.
Initially, it was thought these tusks were used for digging in freshwater habitats, but it was later revealed that it used its forelimbs for this purpose. The tusks
It used its forelimbs for digging in freshwater habitats? For digging? The Proboscidean? Basically a big elephant? I think those boots are made for walking, my guy. Elephants can dig? Well, I guess, but like, do we have evidence that proves that Deinotherium was I'm so confused by the train of logic here, because it's like, it must be that it's using these giant tusks to dig in freshwater environments. I'm assuming that comes from a place of like, we have to determine the use of these tusks, but but the fact that he's saying, oh, it was using its forelimbs to do this instead, almost makes it sound like, oh, hey, there's all these holes we're finding everywhere. Like these big-ass holes that have been dug. In association with Deinotherium fossils, we got to figure out, how are these big holes getting here? Well, if it wasn't the tusks, then it must have been they were digging them with their forelimbs. That's almost what the train of logic sounds like. Deinotherium burrows. Yes. It's like Psittacosaurus.
These gigantic creatures continue to fascinate us to this day. Number 3.
Sure thing.
Helicoprion, the mysterious fossil creature that has puzzled scientists for years.
Base! Dude! Holy shit, Space, you fucking knocked that out of the park. That... Bro, if we get giant sloths, that's it. That's a fucking hat trick.
These fossilized whorls of elongated teeth, resembling primitive versions of circular jaws, have captivated researchers.
Circular
They first
jaws?
appeared in the Devonian and eventually disappeared during the early Triassic.
No, they didn't. They disappeared in like the middle of the Permian. We were doing this last time. Like, fuck. The timeline of Helicoprion is fucked in these videos. They never get it right. Helicoprion died out in the middle of the Permian. It didn't even reach the mass extinction event.
Some might assume, based on its appearance, that it was a precursor to modern sharks. It actually belonged to a separate branch within the ancient fish world. But imagine if this thing existed today.
Yeah, he's not gonna say what it was. Okay. Helicoprion is more closely related to chimeras than it is to sharks. I'll say it because he's not going to. Yeah, I'm like, a big part of me is hoping for hallucigenia. I'm really crossing my fingers that it's gonna be hallucigenia, but if it's a giant sloth in space, you just pulled off the biggest fucking hat trick of all time.
How terrifying would that have been? Number 2. In the
Hallucigenia.
Cenozoic era, which began approximately 65.5 million years ago, an extinct giant ground sloth called Megatherium roamed South America. The scientific name of this massive sloth translates to Great Beast from America. Despite their immense size, which could reach up to 4 tons, fossils...
Space! You fucking killed it! Like, dude, this fucking video was throwing such random shit at me, like the Hyaenodon, the weird-ass Australian pterosaur I never heard of, this fucking invalid genus of crocodiliform, Dolichorhynchops, like, Mosasaurus, like, all this shit, and then it's just like, boom, most predictable garbage ever, all in a row.
It's interesting to note that it coexisted with humans, as evidenced by fossils with cut marks. This suggests that these giant sloths were part of the human diet thousands of years ago.
Ooh.
Number 1.
Okay, hallucigenia.
During the Paleocene, approximately 58 to 60 million years ago, a significant event occurred in a region that had recently recovered from a massive asteroid impact. This event led to the tropical rainforest that exists along the equator today. In the lush and dense landscape saturated with moisture and swamps...
What the fuck did he just say? What?
Years ago. Number 1. During the Paleocene, approximately 58 to 60 million years ago, a significant event occurred in a region that had recently recovered from a massive asteroid impact. This event led to the tropical rainforest that exists along the equator today.
A significant event occurred, and this event led to the tropical rainforest that we see today. What was that event? Because personally, I believe that the event was the equator's really hot and humid. A lot of rain falls there, and as a result, there's rainforests there.
Due to its immense size, the world's largest snake couldn't live in trees. Instead, it mainly inhabited the ground near water sources. It mostly remained in...
Wait a second, didn't you say in a previous... Roll back the footage. I know there's a fucking video where this particular guy, this particular fucking AI said that, like, an interesting fact about the Titanoboa is that it could live in trees. And all this other shit.
What many people don't know is that scientists believe the Titanoboa may have been capable of climbing trees, something unusual for snakes.
I know for a fucking fact he said that. I know for a fucking fact.
Which prehistoric animal would you like to see brought back to life?
Obviously the big chungus. Fuck. Fuck. He was said, right, because he also said it was unusual for a snake. I'm just like, first of all, it's not unusual for a snake. Second of all, it would be unusual for this particular snake, because this particular snake is 50 fucking feet long. What obviously botted comments do we have? This is awesome. Keep it up. Thank you for the update, the feathered friend. I wonder why they all have gone instinct. I love this channel. Awesome. Love it. This presentation reflects the incredible value of the internet by providing the physical appearance and movement of what's being described and discussed. That is the most AI fucking comment I've ever read in my entire life. I like that you said, "were." We're in my heart. I don't think so, but I love you too. Cool. You gotta read this in like the TikTok fucking AI voice. The Titanoboa should be in real life because it is cool. Can you talk about Godzilla next video, please? I subscribed and liked to all your videos. I'm allergic to milk.
Using my returns to promote TBE Trilobite Truther Club. They STILLL exist. Wake up, people.
Wake up, sheeple. The trilobites are still out there. Think about how much. Think about how much of the ocean is completely unexplored. Conceptualize, if you will, the amount of oceans that have gone unexplored by humankind. Think of what the government could be hiding from us. What did we learn? That our good friend, the feathered friend, has not gotten much better.